Now, more wine wisdom. It's Twisted Cork Radio with Jimmy and Miss Fox on 860 KKAT.
Welcome back to Twisted Cork Radio. And guys, you're going to want to pay attention to this one, especially if you're not necessarily a traditional turkey person on Thanksgiving, because I think we've got an interesting wine here, and it might go outside the normal Thanksgiving box.
Yeah, we have a red wine for Gobble Gobble for Turkey Day. This one is called Forlorn Hope, Queen of the Sierra, Estate Red 2017. This is produced by Forlorn Hope Wines out of their California winery, and they're in the Calaveras County, and I did not know where that exactly was, so I popped up Google Maps, and it's due east of San Francisco, sitting at the base of the Sierra Nevada foothills. So that's its location, cool climate, inland, and one thing while researching this, I really admire the winemaker Matthew Rorick, and this wine's produced mostly from his estate fruit, so they owned a lot of the vineyards, also source. But his quote here, he likes to take long shots, quote, because we're all about tenacity, we relish a challenge and love a good tussle. So I thought that was, they're not afraid to take risks. They're ready for a fight. And to put that in perspective with wine terms, this isn't going to be an easy wine to make, that fruit.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting blend, and I had a hard time finding information about it. This is a team that isn't all about the spotlight, and they're out there making this wine, and they're not necessarily people that are looking for the headlines. And you can tell by the way they really allow the wine to almost make itself. They're not doing hardly anything to this. They're not even adding any sulfur or anything to this. They're just letting it work its way into the bottle and letting those grapes ferment at their own time frame. And they're not doing a lot to the grapes. How did you come across this wine? What made you choose this wine?
So I was recently at a raw wine tasting festival, the Natural Wine Tasting Festival, and this wine falls into that category. And what natural wines tend to be is 000, zero pesticides and things of that nature in the vineyards, zero inoculation of yeast. So they're using only natural yeast, just letting the grape juice ferment at its ready from natural yeasts. And then no to little, so zero to little bit of sulfur dioxide, sulfuring the wine at the end, which is pumping through a little bit to help preserve the wine, but not a ton, not overdoing that. But you're right. This wine, what I like about this wine, it's a fruit basket of varietals. It's Barbera, Trousseau Noir, Tempranillo, Graciano, another Spanish varietal, and Cabernet Sauvignon. So these are international grape varietals coming together in the Sierra Nevada foothills in California by a winemaker that's letting, as Ms. Fox pointed out, the wine make itself. And that's pretty cool. You've got about 14 to 21 days, so 2 to 3 weeks that the grape juice is resting against the skins. And then they're doing some rough filtration and then allowing the wine to age 2 years in neutral oak barrels, which is just letting the wine breathe. Just letting the wine breathe a little bit, right?
Right. I find it so interesting because red blends are, I feel like they're kind of a love-hate thing for people. You've got the love from the winemaker, the grape grower, because a red blend is often an insurance policy because you've got a row of Barbera, then you've got your row of Tempranillo and your row of Cabernet, and one of those you might lose them to a hailstorm or something. And so, you end up the year, no matter what, if you're pursuing a red blend, you end up the year with some wine to serve with your food, if that's what you're making it for. So that's great insurance. It's also usually a bit more complex. It's got these, different personalities from all these different varietals coming through, which I love and gives it some interesting depth. It also red blends go so well with food because they tend not to be over the top in any one category. They kind of are a nice, friendly food. But then the problem for us as consumers, in my opinion, is we are fearful of red blends because it's so hard to find out what's really in it. And as you're sitting there and you're trying to debate what you want to serve at a party or what you want to give to a friend, you're looking at the bottle and you're thinking it's a red blend, and you don't know if it's based in Zinfandel unless you've done a lot of research. And there's a bit of trepidation. Either you need to do that advanced research as a consumer, or the winemaker or the marketer has to do a good job on that label at the back to give you some idea of what this is going to be in the bottle, because it's really hard to know other than that. So I think it's kind of this, I love them, but they're a challenge as a consumer. And I think that's something that the wine industry, I'm sure, is tackling on a daily basis, because red blends are so nice to make, and they're becoming popular, but it's just hard to sell.
Yeah, this is a blend of a variety of fruits. This is a wine on the palate. While you were chatting about the blends and the ups and downs of them, you're absolutely right. This wine has, I like the nose, definitely a cherry, but like a Bing cherry. Like if you've ever opened up maraschino cherries, you pop open a jar of fresh maraschino cherries, and that kind of almost medicinal cherry smell comes out. It's similar to that. I don't want to use the word medicinal. It could be considered a negative connotation, but it does have that nice bright, I wrote down bright Bing cherry. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know what a Bing cherry is, then I like to use that maraschino cherry example. And it's got some nice drier tannins to it, but you can definitely tell it's like skin tannins from the grapes, because they just dissolve. As soon as they come up, then they go down. I wished it had more fruit in the wine, but it is it does have some nice cherry, cranberry, some of the red fruit. But whatever that red fruit is, I keep thinking it's the skin of that red fruit. So, cranberry skin is pretty tart. Cherry skin is, pretty tart. Some bright raspberry in there and everything. But with food, a little bit of saltiness, man, all those tannins will drop right off, and this wine will be perceived as much fruitier. So we selected it today to feature with turkey because, hey, Thanksgiving, there's a lot of salt and butter.
Oh, there sure
in fat. I mean, you're going to salt brine your turkey the night before. So that sodium that really comes through. You need some wine with a little bit of tannin, but yet some fruit. And I like this wine because it's not oak aged, because if you were to have the turkey and the stuffing, saltiness will certainly cancel out the tannins in an oaked red, but then you're left with fruit and oak. And I think oak will overwhelm the bird, and it's going to be okay. It's going to be good. You're going to be fine. But if you really want to kick it up a notch, you might want to stay away from red wines that have big, massive oakiness to them for the holiday season.
That's great advice. And I was thinking, as we were talking about this, and I've been smelling and tasting it, I was thinking it's a great non-traditional dinner type of a wine. I mean, I would say this, I would do this with beef. If I was going a different route,
like a roast or something,
yeah, a roast,
right?
Yeah, with roasted vegetables. And I would just take it out of the turkey world, because this has some tannins, and it's gonna cut through whether it's butter if you're doing the turkey and the stuffing, or whether it's the beef or lamb. That maybe because my mom used to now and then, and we couldn't stand it when she did it when we were kids, but she would cook a leg of lamb instead of turkey some years.
Oh, she would. Okay, so you would.
We were
gotcha.
Just, what are you thinking? But this would be great with some lamb as well. And
I like that.
So don't stay away from red blends. Listeners, enjoy a red blend. Sometimes it helps to do a little research ahead of time or hear about one. But this is a really interesting one that is on that natural category, and one that I think people, especially I'm going to call it the yoga instructor crowd would be very interested in a natural wine for the turkey.
Well, you're certainly tasting the fruit in the wine. So this is a Forlorn Hope Queen of the Sierra Estate Red Blend, current vintage 2017. This comes in under $20. It's more in the teens, about $16 to $17 price point, depending on your market. And it's lower alcohol at 12.5%. And good luck with it on this upcoming Thanksgiving.
So fun to taste this one. And as we move, we're going to be moving into France to taste one of our most famous wines that we use over here at Thanksgiving. Stay tuned.
Hi, this is Jimmy
and Miss Fox.
Check out our latest podcast on twistedcorkradio.com and find out more about wines of the week. Here we have a wine fun fact with Miss Fox.
Thank you, Jimmy. All right, today we're going to talk about why some people taste a lot in a glass of wine and why other people just taste wine. I hear that all the time in my classes. I'll have a student, a kind of, sassy student, sitting at the back, leaning back in his chair or her chair, and we challenge everyone, what are you smelling? And I hear it never fails from the back row, wine. I smell wine. And then we've got the people at the front row who are all getting like stickers from the teacher who are saying raspberry or whatever. But there's actually a difference in how we perceive those as humans. We are actually born as humans with between 2 and 10,000 taste buds. So as you can imagine, now this is what you're born with. You can't grow new taste buds. They're what you're born with. And so you can imagine that people that have 2,000 taste buds to taste their food aren't going to have the same heightened taste as someone who has 10,000 taste buds. And so the people who have the 10,000 taste buds are often the ones who don't even want spice on anything. They're like, everything tastes too much, too overdone. I mean, I was married to a super taster guy, and I mean, he wouldn't even want salt or pepper on his steak. I mean, what? And there I am, marinating it and putting all this fun stuff on it. So that's a huge factor in what you can taste in your wine. And I have to say, there's a really fun tasting trick, and it might help you figure out what you have in terms of taste buds. Is take a packet of Sweet and Low, a little pink packet, and dissolve it in about 6 ounces of water. Stir it up and start drinking. And if you taste bitterness while you're drinking, you are likely a super taster. If you put the glass down and then you taste bitterness, you are a normal taster. And then if you never taste bitterness, you are a low taster or someone who doesn't have as many taste buds. So do yourself a favor, figure that out, and stop spending a lot of money on really high-end bottles of wine if you can't actually taste them. Thanks so much.
That was a great wine fun fact with Miss Fox.
Every Saturday and Sunday at 10 o'clock in the morning
on 860 KKAT.
Fill your glass and join us at twistedcorkradio.com.